Okay, as you can see, it's 4:11 a.m. You'll actually probably be able to see it better on the computer. I am up late because I had to work all day doing not fun stuff, and then I have to come home and work some more so that hopefully maybe I can convince a few of you people that our children's futures are worth saving. So, just to get into children and their future, let me introduce you to Angela Freiner.
Did you know that Trinity Teen Solution had a class action lawsuit for child laboring and trafficking?
There's been a lot of bad things said about that place, but I thought it was a great experience from what I felt, so I like to base my own experiences from my own opinion.
Were you aware that they had a class action lawsuit for child laboring and child trafficking?
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay, relevance.
It's not hearsay.
I mean, you already asked him the question and he told you about it, so go ahead, get something else.
I made it
You're
right.
done, you're done. Mrs. Frank, do you have any more questions?
I just want to know if he was aware of it before he placed Delilah.
Was. So,
Before placing her there? I don't know if he answered that.
alright, were you aware about this class action before you placed her there?
I read a lot of things, like I said, and it suited what I was trying to do with Delilah, and I thought it was a good place for her to be there. So I ignored it.
So you were aware that it was happening?
Yeah, I didn't believe it.
Okay.
Ask the answer.
Do you feel that that's okay to put your child in a place like that?
Like I said, I felt that was the best solution for Delilah at that time.
Yep. You heard it correctly. In an open court of law, supposedly, for all of you people who believe that the state can create law for you. In an open court of the kangaroo state law, this dad, this father, openly admits to sending his daughter to a child trafficking center, allegedly, a place that is getting sued in federal court for child trafficking. And he testified it was okay because it worked out really, really well for him. And I'm so glad it worked out really, really well for him. I'm even more ecstatic that nobody in society really cares that much to make it right. Because even after that testimony, the court would not order D-Love back to Miss Freiner, to our angel. Is absolutely insane. So, for all of you people in North Carolina, and I really, really hope you are following and watching what's going on with Allan's case. I really do. Because I'm going to show you a little bit of insight of where it's going, because we've already been down this road before. I'm going to play you something I made a year ago, April 4th of last year. This is for Easter, last year, 2021. This was about the last time our little angel, Angela, ever saw her daughter. Ever saw her daughter. Over a year ago. Let's watch.
So we can make this easy and do this easy so we can do the hard way. That's why it's in part of life. The easy way, we can do the hard way. You literally had an 8-year-old girl. There's no way they can go with it. There's no evidence. I mean, this is what I'm telling you. Nobody knows my emotions more than I do. And nobody can say my experiences about Melly because I was the person that experienced it. Understand? So I don't understand. No, you don't understand. If you understood, you would have learned to go to the child molester.
No, Delilah, I'm going to stop you right there.
No, little Miss Thing, judicial officer, you don't understand. If you understood that he is molesting me, and you're a judicial officer who's supposed to uphold the law, you would not force me to go with a man that I am testifying to before you as a strong, independent young woman in training, that he molests me. And instead of sending me home with my mom, who is perfectly capable of taking care of me because she's been doing it for the past 14 years, you're going to arrest her, throw her in jail to try and force me to go with my dad. And when I don't go with him, you're going to throw me in a mental institution. And then when I get out and I have to go with him, he's going to send me to a place that traffics children, allegedly. And this is all on the court record. Everybody knows about it. Nobody's arguing with it. Even the dad said, yep, I knew that they were in court for child trafficking. And I thought that was the best place for her to be. For my convenience at the time. That's what I heard. That's what I heard. And I really wish for everybody to take the seriousness and the gravity of this situation to heart, because I am up at 4 a.m. and close that work done all day, trying to help people out, trying to get people to understand that it's not okay to take children away from safe homes and put them in unsafe homes. It's not okay to take children away from their church congregation on Easter where you have over 100 witnesses making sure everything's okay. It's not okay. So, maybe at this moment in time, people are wondering, well, JC, how did you meet Miss Reiner? How did you meet this little angel that went through this horrific experience? And before I get into that, sorry, my mind's kind of tired. Before I get into that, I just wish for everybody to know, understand, and accept the gravity of the situation. Angela, for 6 months of this past year, could not even get the court to give her proof of life that her daughter was alive. And then when she finds out where her daughter is, it's a place that traffics children, allegedly, with a whole lot of evidence to back it up. And they've been sued for it before. Even kidnappers give you the dignity to give you proof of life. So here's how I met our little angel. Somebody sent me a news article link that had a YouTube link that had Angela's case in it. Let's hear some of this. Let's see what's going on here.
Everybody in the system appears to be in on it. When 31 judges recuse themselves from a case, you have a serious problem.
And other than that, we're gonna, the meeting is this afternoon that Judge Burton is calling. And I think now that more judges are being called out and named, I'm sure it has gotten their attention, but this threatens to take down the entire system. The judges are in on it.
They were caught on video after this lawsuit was filed. So there was a lawsuit filed alleging that this cabal of guardians was colluding with the judges and with therapists, psychologists to diagnose one parent with false psychological disorders, charge them huge amounts of money, and take their children from them, hide child abuse allegations, and give the child to the wealthier parent, who is also happens to be the parent that the child is accusing of molestation. In the cases I've revealed, Nick, these same guardians, Elaine Pudlowski, with her psychotherapist friend James Reed, who is also married to a former judge, they are working together. And every one of these parents I've spoken to who have had experience with these two and others in the system are reporting that they did the same thing, worked with a doctor to have one parent declared unfit and hid child abuse allegations in order to give the child back to the other parent.
Let me tell you the story that first got my attention, and it was a story surrounding audio that got leaked of I believe it was a 14-year-old girl, and the judge was, I wanted to say sentencing her, but telling her, no, you have to go live with your father, and she's pleading. Somebody leaked audio of this, pleading with the judge, saying, he molests me. He is my molester. Do not do this. And the judge threatened to send her mom to jail if she did not.
She didn't just threaten.
She did.
She didn't just threaten. She sent her mom to jail.
Elaine to task, though, in this Cash for Kids scheme that I was originally named in. I haven't received a penny. I don't know where that money is. It's COVID.
On top of that, you're running a Ponzi scheme, Elaine? How dare you?
Right. We should all be really wealthy by now.
Yeah. I mean, when you're selling kids,
right,
there's got to be some money attached to that.
Yep.
That's an idea. We could adopt the identity. We could call ourselves Cash for Kids.
Oh, yeah, LLC. Mile Financials. It is growing.
Yeah, you didn't hear a mistake. No question of error. They are literally sitting there laughing about selling kids for cash. You have to understand that in this, in what's going on, there's no hiding it. The judicial officer got caught sending an email telling the attorneys everything was going to be fine because he talked to his buddies down at the Bar Association and the lawsuit would be dropped. And you know what? We know it has been because guess what? The lawsuit was dropped. Angela Freiner got arrested, is looking at years in prison for felonies, for releasing the audio, and they say threatening the judge because she said there's consequences to actions. To try and bring you the truth. If you believe that you should follow that worldly power, if you believe that you should follow those gods, be my guest. Just don't try and push them on me. The gods I follow, the powers I follow, the creator I follow. There was a celebration for them last week. It was called Easter. You might have heard of it. And Allan Smith, who's going through a very similar situation except different in North Carolina. That's absolutely provable if we could just get a court of law. If anybody in the public were interested enough in a court of law, we could easily prove all of this stuff. But for the most part, people aren't interested. Anyways, he did a motion for religious freedoms so that his children could see his mom, grandchildren could see their grandmother, heaven forbid, for some reason. And the court denied it. Let's listen to what they said when he was actually filing the document. Let's hear what they said when he's filing.
All right, I took this back to our assistant clerk. She said for me to clock this in, but she said she's not going to sign this. So I don't know if you want me to give this page back to you.
No, you just stick in the file. As long as there's a denial, that's fine.
Okay, that's fine. Do you want me to clock your copies
Yes,
in
please.
for you? Okay.
They're stuck together.
Okay.
Holy cow, like a bulldozer. Go sit down, please.
That was the clerk telling them they're not going to entertain, they're not even going to put it before a judicial officer. They're not going to sign anything, they're not going to do anything. Which is really funny because Tamara Lee moved an entire process of law in 60 seconds where she filed a motion with the clerk's office. The clerk took that motion, had to assign a judicial officer to that motion, ran it to Emily Cowan because she's the judicial officer who signed the order. She must have looked over the entire motion, noticed that it was unverified, and then signed an order to have Allan show cause for why the grandchildren should be around their grandmother without Allan going to jail for 30 days. And they did all of that within 60 seconds. That's how fraudulent it's become. Because they know that you just don't care. They know that you just don't understand what's going on. And everybody's sitting here talking about, 2030, you'll learn nothing and be happy. 2030, you'll learn nothing and be happy. 2030. How are they going to get everything from me? How are they going to take everything from Americans? How are they going to do that? Well, let me tell you something. They just broke up Allan's family property. They sell that property that his house is on, that was protected by the post-nuptial agreement and the separation agreement. They're going to have to break up the entire family compound leading up to that property to give public easement, a public roadway for whoever buys that property. How do you think they're going to take everything from you? You'll learn nothing and be happy. In this country, they can't do anything like that without a judicial signature. They're not supposed to get that judicial signature without a jury or a jury trial, but nobody cares to show up to court to act on a jury because we're all too busy with our own lives. We all have to work. We all have to do something. Believe me, I know. Because on top of all of this stuff, I got other stuff I gotta do. If you feel like donating, I'd really appreciate it. Because by the time anybody gets to me, they've already been robbed and fleeced by the legal society. Straight up. The funny thing in my mind is that people are actually paying for the process of them owning nothing and being happy. But there's something you could do to stop it. We really appreciate everybody who's already signed the petition, praying to our Heavenly Father, to the Creator of all things, that the government will uphold law. We're not praying to the government. We're just praying to our Heavenly Father that they uphold law, because it'll get real bad if they don't. And thank you for everybody who has participated in that, everybody who's going to participate in that. We got to have all the documents by May 9th so that we can file them in our own court and then serve them to the appropriate parties. So we really appreciate anybody who's going to join in, sign, be a part of it, make sure they witness a court of law so that when it turns 2030, we'll at least still own our children. We'll at least still have rights to them. And if you're in North Carolina, I just wish for you to think about the idea that it could be up to you. It could be the decisions you make. It could be what you talk about, what you choose not to talk about. That could decide which kingdom you live in, your children live in, and their children live in. The kingdom of our Father, or the kingdom of theirs. I don't care. I know where I'm going. No worries here. We are just conspiracy, and we just wish to conspire with other good people of this planet to leave a better world for future generations than the world we all grew up in. One world, love, and peace.
Okay. I know. I don't know why they did that to you. He's a good boy. Look how happy he is.
On callbacks to get anybody we can to verify that this is in effect, okay? Once we're able to verify that, it's still going to be a standing issue, a court-ordered issue, so we have to abide.
Did you just hear him? He just said, we haven't gotten this verified yet. This hasn't been verified, certified, and authenticated. So we just heard from our people that we can't put on the black gloves and rip her out. But as soon as we can get this verified, certified, authenticated, we're going to be back. But let me just ask you again, what were they doing out there with an unverified, uncertified, unauthentic order to take a girl from her mom? Why did that happen in the first place at all? Period.
If it comes down that order is in effect, we will have to act on it. Now this puts you in a very weird position that you have to basically sit and wait and hear what comes back from the courts. However, just want to give you the heads up that there is the criminal charge if you were to take off.
Well, what comes back from the courts? Didn't you say you got that process from a court? Isn't that why you were out here in my home for 45 minutes? Was because you received that process from the court and it was true, lawful, and correct and you could execute it? Now you can't? And people in the state. And so, see, way back in the day, because every single officer used to know what lawful processes were and how the law worked, and it wasn't so confusing that you had to go talk to an attorney about something simple. When everybody knew that, see, officers, they knew if a court order was legitimate. They knew before they went to go serve it. Because if they went to go serve it and it wasn't legitimate, guess what? They might get shot. You know, trying to come take my kid with a piece of paper that's not legitimate that nobody can verify. What? What would you do if somebody in Walmart just came up and grabbed your kid and started running? What would you do to that person? Would you just hand your child over? What if they came up and hand you a piece of paper and they say, I order you to give me your children? Would you do it? You wouldn't do it? I wouldn't do it. Then how does it happen? How does it happen? And how is it going to change? How's it going to change? Because, but let's be real clear on this. We're all in this boat together. We're all in this boat together. So it doesn't matter what your issue is, whether it's family court or, you know, racism or whatever. If one of us doesn't have rights, none of us has rights. The only way to change it is if we change it. Think about this for a minute. After that video with the cops, and I'm going to tell you right now, here's what the cops wanted to do. They wanted to get the daughter down to the station because I'm sure that somebody thought about this. They said, well, you can't just rip the daughter out of her house on camera. That would probably look bad. So what about you get her to consent to come down to the station? When they get down to the station, you just don't let the mom leave with her unless she fights her or she fights y'all and physically removes the daughter. Then we'll have her looking crazy. That was probably that conversation right there. I mean, that's just my opinion. I don't know that happened, okay? But that's just what it seems like to me. And they try and get them to go down, but they won't. They won't, because that's gangster. It's gangster not to do that. And somebody asked me, they were like, John, what do you mean by gangster? I'm going to tell you what I mean by gangster. See, a gangster is a famous outlaw in his day and time. Like Robin Hood was a gangster. You know, he was outside the law and he did the right thing. Gandhi was a gangster. Right? I mean, he didn't really work with the legal system, and he just peacefully didn't care. Peacefully went against them. Jesus was probably the biggest gangster of all, if you want to go along the lines of gangster stories. It's just someone who's famous for being an outlaw in their day and time. That's what I think of when I think of gangster. And that's what they're doing. They would not consent. No. And so after that, again, they get pulled in to court on a motion to hold Angela in contempt. And again, Nicole's like, I'll let your mom go. Just come with me. Just let us take complete control of your life and, you know, send you with somebody who you already told us he molested you a lot of times. Yeah, just consent to that. Otherwise, your mom's going to jail. And then Angela goes to jail. She gets out of jail. She writes, hey, there could be consequences for your actions. And she goes back to jail. Has felony charges. Could face years in prison. I called the Supreme Court about it. Called the Supreme Court. And James did the right thing, but here's the issue, is that this is so public and so blatant that if there was actually any law, order, and justice, surely one of the higher courts, one of the higher people would be like, y'all gotta stop. We got to punish you because what you did was so offensive. But that hasn't happened. That hasn't happened. Why? Well, if you ask me, it's not proof. It's not proof. But the only way I could see that possibly happening is if it was corrupt. From the bottom to the top. You know, it's kind of like maybe Nagy would have said, see, it started corrupt and then it kept getting corrupted until it was actually corrupted. Yeah, that's probably what Nagy would have said. So I'm just going to leave you with this question. If you're not going to do anything about it, who do you suppose will? We are just conspiracy, and we just wish to conspire with other good people of this planet.
The record just indicated that the child has been produced, and the child's going to go with dad, and dad, you're going to leave with the child, okay?
I don't want to go with them.
You don't have a choice. You're going to leave with dad today.
I'm not going with them.
You don't have a choice. Okay. One more. We are on the record in 14 SLVR 02617-02, Reiner versus Judy. We're here today on a criminal contempt order and a writ of habeas corpus that was, actually there are two related cases. It's that case, and the second case is 21 SLDR 00544. That's the order for the writ as it relates to the child. Very briefly, the court issued the motion for criminal contempt show cause order last week. The parties were all aware of it, and in response to that, both petitioner and respondent appeared in person today. Petitioner brought the minor child, Delilah, with her in court today. We're going to go around the room. Everyone is going to just state their name into the microphone for me. We'll start with petitioner. That's actually on this side.
Thank you. Angela Breyer.
Thank you. And you can go ahead and state your name.
Delilah Judy.
Delilah Judy. Thank you. And respondent side.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Kathleen Scholl for James Judy, who is here.
And you can.
James Judy is present, Your Honor.
Thank you. We also have the guardian. She's not by microphone, so the guardian, Venus Jackson, is also appearing live today. Okay. The show cause order requires the petitioner to appear in person and with the child today. Go with father, custody of the minor child. Numerous court orders, including the court's most and amended December 23rd of 2020. The court also entered a temporary restraining order on January 15th, 2021 that confirmed dad had custody of the minor child. The TRO order turned into a consent order of TRO on January 29, 2021, when Ms. Reiner indicated she would voluntarily produce the child on February 3rd. The minor child was not produced, nor was Ms. Reiner in court that day as required to be. The court therefore then issued the current motion that we're here on today, the motion for criminal contempt on its own motion. On its own motion, the court the court held a hearing that was requested by Ms. Reiner on Friday of last week. That hearing was conducted by, or phone conference was conducted by phone. At that time, Ms. Reiner selected the date and time for the criminal contempt motion. The court has indicated, in that criminal contempt motion, the court required Ms. Reiner to appear and bring the child again the second time. Court started at 1, Ms. Reiner appeared about 1:20 with the child. Court has indicated its intent, if the child is going to be turned over to dad, to not proceed today with the motion for criminal contempt, and also the writ of habeas corpus that was filed in the 21 SLDR 00544 case. Does anyone want to state anything for the record on the record?
Your Honor, can you hear me? On the record, Delilah did call me yesterday stating that she did not want to go with her dad, that he touches her. There was an open CPS in the state that he lives in. I contacted them. They stated that the case was closed and that they would send me information. I have not received any information, but they did state that the case is closed at this point and that both Delilah and her dad are interviewed.
Thank you. Ms. Reiner, my understanding is you're turning over the minor child today. Is that what you've told the court?
I brought her in like you asked me to.
Thank you. So at this point in time, if anyone has nothing else for the record, then I'm going to ask the minor child to go ahead and go to dad and for those parties to leave the courthouse. Petitioner, I'm going to ask you to remain here for about 15 minutes while they clear the courthouse. That's common how we do that, okay? All right, that will conclude our record.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
This whole group, other than daughter, is going to stay here for 15, okay?
It's okay. Get your mama happy.
I'm not going with you.
This is what we need to do.
Why?
I didn't come here to argue.
Why?
Okay?
No, I want you want to talk to me about it. Let's talk about it.
I've been very open with you about all this. I said
Why don't you
anytime.
talk about it?
Yeah.